Good morning everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. VLN Shastri, BAMS of Andhra University, MD Ayurveda Pediatrics of Benares Hindu University BHU, Hospital Administration PGDHHM of IGNOU, Study Center being NIMS at Hyderabad, and also LLB from Osmania University. I am Retired Additional Director Ayurveda, Department of Ayush, Government of United Andhra Pradesh. I previously held the positions of Postgraduate Professor, Research Officer, Medical Superintendent and Principal of the Government Ayurvedic College at Hyderabad. For further clarifications if any, my phone number is included in the description box. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to receive future notifications. Thank you. Today, I would like to talk about the permission given to Ayurvedic specialists to conduct some surgeries and the controversy raised by the Indian Medical Association. Next, totally, I would like to give you the information on 10 subheads. Those are the image of the public, that is common man, on Ayurveda, myths and facts. Secondly, Ayurvedic education in the institution, its depth and scope. Third, registration of Ayurvedic degrees in the government records. 4. Surgeries and Ayurveda. 5. Gazette notification of Government of India dated 20 November 2020 regarding the clarification of Ayurvedic doctors versus surgeries. 6. Protest of Indian Medical Association, the so-called IMA, against the said Gazette notification. Next, how their protest is unjustified, that is, IMA is biased, prejudiced, baseless, illogical and unlawful agitation, their height of enviousness and jealousy. Next, what's the problem for IMA if Ayurvedic doctors conduct surgeries? Next, careless comments of a woman doctor in some of the videos. And lastly, advice to the IMA people. So to give you the brief information about all these 10 heads now what I have narrated, coming to the first point, the image of the public, that is common man on Ayurveda, and the myths and facts. It is simply all think that the symptoms and remedial tips, advices, herbal prescriptions given by some grandmothers, temple priests, sadhus, sannyasis, babas, villagers, and also some kitchen remedies and so on. All think that this is Ayurveda only. Next, medicines, Ayurvedic medicines are nothing but herbs. That is a myth. All surgeries can be avoided and they can be cured by purely Ayurvedic medicines. It is also a myth. Ayurveda means no surgeries at all. It is simply a herbal medicine. That is also a myth. So, once again I say that all these notions are false and it has systematic fundamental principles, therapeutic principles, and it's an ocean. Next, the Ayurvedic education in the institutions, its depth and scope. In this connection, the CCIM, now the name is revised as the National Commission of Indian Medicine, that is called NCIM. So, it is the supreme apex authority on the educational pattern of across the country, and if it does not recognize any qualification is invalid. So what are the courses now run in the Ayurvedic institutions? Number 1, BAMS, Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery. It is 5.5 years degree course, that is 4.5 years course and 1 year housemanship. Its eligibility is 10+2 by PC group, and also through the common entrance test one has to take the admission. The next higher course is MD Ayurveda of 3 years duration and analogous to that MS Ayurveda. And ultimate supreme qualification is PhD in Ayurveda. So next, coming to in the ancient classics, Ayurvedic education was divided as 8 branches, we call it as Ashtangas. That means number 1, Kaya Chikitsa, general medicine, Shalya Tantra, surgery, Shalakya Tantra. Shalakya Tantra means the diseases of dental diseases, ENT diseases, ophthalmic eye diseases, whatever it be above the clavicle, that is its definition. And that is another branch. Bala Roga, Kaumara Bhritya, that is service to the children. So it includes what you call obstetrics and gynecology, Prasuti Tantra and Stiroga. These come under Bala Roga. And next, Agada Tantra, toxicology. Graha Roga, it refers to microbiology. It refers to microbiology and also some psychiatric diseases. Rasayana Tantra, it is the rejuvenation therapy. The virility of all the bodily tissues would be improved, and that's in simpler words, toning up of the body. And lastly, Vajikarana Tantra. It means to promote or consolidate the libido, to promote libido, coupled with immunological processes. This immunity boosting, that concept and process both lie even in Rasayana Tantra and Vajikarana Tantra. So, to sum up, 8 branches were divided. When in the ancient times, in Charaka Samhita, that means almost 2 to 3,000 years BC. So, what I would like to say is, different departmental division was taken place in those days. Of course, today some more subdivision has taken place in the modern era. Nowadays, different subjects in different departments are what you call going on in all the teaching institutions. Pre-clinical subjects, anatomy, physiology, and then philosophy of Ayurveda, etc. Paraclinical, that means materia medica, pharmacology, pharmacy. Of course, Sanskrit terms are there in Ayurveda, that is Bhaishya Kalpana, Shastra, Dravya Guna Vignan. And lastly, clinical subjects and clinical training at hospitals. This is the scope of the Ayurvedic education in the institutions currently. Next, the registration of Ayurvedic degrees in the government records. The state registers are maintained by different state governments, and a common central register would be there, which collects the information from all the different state governments. So, when all these Ayurvedic basic qualifications, be it BAMS or of course for allopathy, they analogous to our Central Council of Indian Medicine. Medical Council of India is there. So those people have to get registered in that council. But for Ayurveda, unless and until we get our basic degree registered in the state registers, we don't have the license to practice. After registration, we will be called as the registered medical practitioner and then the license to practice. So, system of medicine specified, whether it is Ayurveda or allopathy, so our registration speaks. Prescription of allopathic medicines by Ayurvedic doctors. So here what would happen? Because the pharmacology subjects are different from Ayurveda and allopathy, so we study Ayurvedic pharmacology and the allopathic doctors study the modern pharmacology. So we Ayurvedic doctors cannot prescribe allopathic medicines. The same is the case for the allopathic doctors also. They cannot prescribe Ayurvedic medicines. Giving an example, Dolo 650 we should not prescribe, and Leave 52 modern doctors should not prescribe. So then the question arises, the legal status. For example, if any Ayurvedic doctor wants to prescribe allopathic medicine, who can empower an Ayurvedic doctor? There are 3 ways. Any state government has got a discretion and prerogative to give permission. Of course, such permission they will consider after thorough scrutiny whether these Ayurvedic doctors have studied the modern pharmacology at the expected standards or not. Then they may give permission. So legally, state government can give any permission through statutes. And next, central government also can give permission. And thirdly, the court verdicts. If any disputes go to the court of law, when a judgment comes favorably, so any Ayurvedic doctor, to the framework of that particular verdict, he is entitled to practice. These 3 are the 3 different ways whereby a permission of a doctor of one system of medicine attains eligibility to practice the other system of medicine. But the statute, that means act, is a must for permission. Suppose government has given some GO, that GO stands invalid if it is not backed by concerned statute. And lastly to say, some Ayurveda, that means many of the people or Ayurvedic professionals or doctors feel that we have studied, this allopathic pharmacology that is there in our syllabus. This studying, having knowledge and giving appropriate prescription, all these are insignificant and immaterial in the eye of law. Whether government, you have got a legal license to prescribe allopathic medicine. No, we Ayurvedic doctors cannot prescribe allopathic medicine, and similarly, allopathic doctors cannot prescribe Ayurvedic medicine. Next, coming to the fact of the surgeries and Ayurveda. In this context, Sushruta, the ancient Ayurvedic doctor, a specialist surgeon, regarding this period is little bit history speaks some stretch, 2000 BC to 200 AD approximately. He is the father of surgery. There is no controversy in that. Even the modern doctors also accept this. And next, coming to that, in the ancient classics, mainly Sushruta Samhita. Samhita means it is a written text constituting all the departments, all the faculties. And next, Vagpata Samhita. That means Vagpata is an author, Sushruta is an author, all over the ancient physicians. So in these classics, we can observe much more content regarding the surgical subject. At a theory part, several instruments and devices are described. For example, Suchi, needle, Vrihi Suchi, curved needle, Arshastra, it is awl, A-W-A, awl. That means a small pointed tool to pierce the holes on soft surfaces like pinna. So in Ayurveda, Karnaveda Samskara is there. So in that, all these instruments are useful and concerned. Next, Simha Mukha Yantra, lines forceps, Guda Vikshana Yantra, proctoscope, etc. Why I have given all these examples means, in the ancient period itself, several instruments were there. Now the current modern instruments are nothing but the metamorphosed the old concepts, and some more improvisations would also have been there. Next, coming to the surgical procedures. In Sanskrit terms, Chedana means incision, Bhedana means excision, Niraharana either extraction or drain. Next, Agni Karma, it is a cauterization by heat. Next, Chara Karma, it is a chemical cauterization. All these procedures are described at depth. So its applications. So all these surgical procedures, conducting surgeries by team of doctors. In private Ayurvedic nursing homes, some doctors, efficient Ayurvedic surgeons are there. Those people conduct some surgeries. And in government Ayurvedic hospitals also, the equipment will be different, provided by the government, and surgeries are being conducted. And here one point all have to understand is, a teamwork is necessary for surgery. Simply one surgeon cannot do anything. He must be assisted by an anesthetist as per necessity. So in Ayurvedic, concerned with Ayurvedic practice, because we don't have the license to prescribe allopathic medicines, but surgery we have got license. We have got what's called legal validity, and no law prohibits an Ayurvedic person, qualified Ayurvedic person, to undertake surgery. So our team is an anesthetist, that means a modern anesthetist, and also if necessary a modern physician, pre-operative medicines, post-operative care medicines. If necessary, the modern physician will advise, and an Ayurvedic surgeon can follow that. If necessary, some modern surgeon also stands by, and under his direction, Ayurvedic surgeon will progress, will conduct, and will improve if necessary. This is the surgeries under Ayurveda. Next, a Gazette notification of Government of India dated 2011-2020. Here what happened means, central government, after discussing with the CCIM's recommendation, so it gave some clarification of Ayurvedic doctors versus surgeries. A detailed list of surgeries concerned with dental, eye, ENT, general surgery, etc. All this list is mentioned. Thus, the eligibility of Ayurvedic surgeons is further substantiated. Here I would like to clarify one more point. It seems no law prohibits to handle the said procedures even by BAMS qualified graduates also, who have got aptitude, who have got skill, who have got proficiency. But the purpose of specialization is to further your ability and to claim that I am a specialist, and public can easily recognize such specialists. Next, the protest of Indian Medical Association, IMA, by releasing a press note dated 21st November 2020, against the said Gazette notification. It is an allopathic body, IMA. It is, I am very clear in my expression. IMA is under utter confusion to focus the basis of their confusion because its stand is baseless. It is evident by their words used as follows, which they go on changing every day. First they said that Ayurveda is simply a placebo treatment. How is it placebo? Means no medicine at all. So there are hundreds and thousands of drugs contained in Ayurvedic formulations. If any IMA man comes, we give the medicine, then he can understand the action and reaction. So it is baseless, unscientific. Where the scientificity is there, it is time tested, and the major sociological statistics itself is the basis for us. If not, this would not have survived from ancient times to the today. So it is very scientific. And they say that Ayurvedic doctors are not eligible. Why not? There is a qualification, there is a license, eligible. And then they say no competency. Competency depends upon the learning skills. That competency is needed to anybody, be it a modern surgeon or an Ayurvedic surgeon. And they say that no surgery in Ayurveda. Just now I have explained what are the surgical, what's called roots in Ayurveda. And then retrogressive step. So like that, the IMA is highly under confusion, and every day it takes up, one word, and it makes hue and cry that the surgeries must not be permitted to Ayurvedic doctors. Next, how their protest is unjustified. I condemn the protest and criticism of IMA. At the same time, I thank allopathic doctors, stalwarts and friends who are broad-minded, understanding Ayurveda correctly and support Ayurvedic surgeons with the correct spirit, because innumerable allopathic doctors and stalwarts are there. Even the family relations, the sons, daughters of Ayurvedic doctors are the modern surgeons. So don't think that all entire allopathic doctors, the stand taken by the allopathic doctors is similar to that of IMA. IMA is a separate body and it has got its own approach. I condemn the IMA only, not all allopathic doctors. IMA is biased, prejudiced, with baseless, illogical and unlawful agitation. It is their height of enviousness and jealousy. Their anxious allegations and my answers are like this. They say that not eligible. Why not? Ayurvedic surgeons are qualified and have license. They say, why adopting modern techniques and procedures? Here I say, surgery is a skill which can be learnt by anybody. No patent rights for surgery skills. Surgery is different from prescribing allopathic medicines. We are very much conscious where we have got license and where we do not have license. So, that is next they say, how do you manage sepsis and antisepsis? These concepts are there in Ayurveda. Suchi is nothing but asepsis. Shuddhi is nothing but antisepsis. These are described at depth. For example, early morning we get up and then brush. So that brushing technique, dantadhavana, and then snana, bathing, and then washing the hands before dining or taking any food. All these concepts come under Suchi and Shuddhi only. So, can I say that they are all studied in Ayurveda? So, modern people should not follow these concepts. So, it is a ridiculous and then meaningless claim. So, though it is all, those are all stated in Ayurveda, I should not say that nobody should follow this. I must encourage all the people to follow this Suchi and Shuddhi. Similarly, in the pre-operative condition and post-operative condition, the drugs in Ayurveda and the approach in Ayurveda, so we use, and there is no wrong if we use spirit also. There is no harm in using that. Why? Because another point is there. Hastam eva pradhana yantram. Because in Ayurveda, Sushrut clearly told, whatever be the instruments or whatever be the devices you use it, you have to operate with hands only. Hastam eva pradhana yantram. So, if I say that it is the basically it is stated in Ayurveda. So, modern surgeons should not use hands. It is our property. It is our this thing. Can I say? No, it's absolutely wrong. I should not say like that. So, ultimately, what this is so this is my answer for their evasive and then vague allegation. So next coming to the plagiarism. That means it is nothing but chaurya. It's a thefting. That means they say that all the modern terminology and technical terms are translated into Sanskrit. So thus Ayurvedic people are resorting to the plagiarism. Using Sanskrit terms for modern techniques does not amount to plagiarism. If we make a false claim that such technique belongs to Ayurveda, then only it amounts to plagiarism. We never have done like that, and there is no necessity for us. We are upgrading and we are learning those techniques because skill is not one's property, no patent rights to anybody over the skills. Next, who copied whom? So strictly to speak, the ancient Ayurvedic surgical principles are what you call metamorphized, magnified, further improvised, and enormous improvement is there in the modern surgery. I salute to the modern surgical techniques, modern surgeons, and definitely wherever it is necessary, we must have to depend upon the modern surgery. But such concept, such understanding, broad-mindedness, I expect from the allopathics also. This is one aspect. Next, why they are not justified in their protest? They say that are mixing up, integration, we won't accept. What is meant to be mixing up? I can't understand. It is a team of doctors. When I told that a patient has got a right to hire one anesthetist, to hire one surgeon, to hire one physician to his house also, or he may arrange one place where surgical theatre facilities are there, and they can call all these team of doctors. Among the team, one Ayurvedic surgeon could be there, and patient is prepared to pay whatever the amount on the name of fees to all the doctors. So can it be prevented by anybody? Whether IMA has got a right to prevent a modern doctor or a modern surgeon or a modern anesthetist to conduct his own job by associating with Ayurvedis? It is very highly wrong. For one example, I say, Charasutra application, that means it is a medicated thread. It is useful in fistula. In Ayurveda, we call it Bhagandara Vyadhi. So, in Banaras University, it is highly, in every Ayurvedic doctor knows it, and several institutions follow it. At Banaras University, it was highlighted because modern doctors also were trained how to apply Charasutra in fistula. And then nowadays they have been practicing this also. So does it mean that this is a mixing and it is an integration? So modern doctors should not go there? Who IMA? What is the competency of the IMA to speak like that? So that is some baseless version. IMA has no rights on the allopathic system. One point I would like to make it clear. One gentleman, after having been successful in the entrance test, he may have studied MBBS and then MS or any post-graduation, and he acquires rights to practice that system. But he has no rights on that system. He cannot hide it in his pocket. And also, the allopathic doctors or IMA has no rights to prevent allopathic surgeons or doctors to associate with other systems. That is one thing. Next, they use the word retrogression. What retrogression? And one more point, that mixing up means let them not mix. In their institutions, let them study only allopathy. They have got every right not to invite any other systems. So let them not mix up. But we have our right of integration cannot be snatched away by anybody, cannot be questioned. Next, they use the word retrogression. For them, whatever be the word they let IMA use, it is a progressive step for the welfare of the patients and proficiency of Ayurvedic surgeons. Next, what is the problem for IMA if Ayurvedic doctors conduct surgeries? It is really astonishing. And if we think coolly, I can't understand what is the real problem to the IMA people. Because is it a business competition for them? Not at all. Because, however, every citizen of India can take up any business, which is a fundamental right anywhere in India. So, practically, numerically, statistically, modern surgeons are more in number. And they cannot be proportionate to the ailing people of the population. Is a billions of people are there and only lakhs of surgeons are there. So we can never be a business competitors to the allopathic surgeons. So it is they are not affected by that. Next, is it Ayurvedic surgeons devoid of skill and efficiency? I can't understand many. This is the main. If Ayurvedic doctors cannot do surgeries, even though they are qualified, they can't undertake surgeries. Regarding efficiency, how IMA people sitting in Delhi can decide to acquire efficiency? What is needed? Aptitude, hard work, commitment to learn the skills, and dedication. All these make a surgeon perfect. All these qualities are required even for the modern surgeons also, to become efficient. These are all common, essential, characteristic features for all surgeons. So if any Ayurvedic qualified person also can acquire by through all these practically learning skills and develop the skills, and he can become proficient. There is no doubt in that. That is the answer for that. Is that IMA is worrying for public? How is it? How the public are damaged? Of course, according to them, if Ayurvedic doctor takes up a knife and then conducts any surgery, public will die. It is their it may be their ambition, because they want to see that Ayurvedic doctors are useless. So that is not the case. If really any damage is caused to the public by the incompetency or insufficient skill of surgeons, then surgeon or a doctor, then what is the cause of action? The affected person has a right to sue the culprit, that is doctor, in a court of law. And also, this comes under medical negligence and then punishable under law. This law is common to modern doctors also. Even though 3 or 4 CS and half a dozen super specialties are there for a surgeon, if it is proven that their medical negligence is responsible for resulting in any damage to the patient, they are also equally punishable. So medical negligence is not limited to one particular system. So I appeal to the IMA, don't talk about that efficiency. Efficiency varies from individual to individual. Next, if that be the case, whether IMA has shown any concern towards the exploitation of the corporate hospital, you see, enormous room rents, unreasonable, nobody can question, because capitalists are running that. And exorbitant cost of the medicines being sold at their counters. They prevent the patients to go outside and purchase the medicines where economically available. Only they insist the patients to purchase the medicines in their corporate hospitals only, and then exorbitant cost. Nobody is there to save the patients. And lastly, the ventilator and ECMO gimmicks. Everybody knows, after keeping a patient on the ventilator, if necessary on the ECMO for about 30 days, and they take the charges, and ultimately dead body will come out. Have you not seen? It's a fact. Nowadays in the COVID times, it is further being exploited, and then unethical business is going on. I am very sorry for that. I am not criticizing any individual doctor, just I am criticizing the social scenario. The information now what I have been seeing daily in the newspapers whatsoever. So that's why he should not say that IMA is more concerned about the public. IMA is not at all concerned. If at all we Ayurvedic doctors stand nearer to the poorer public towards the villages, we can't see any dental specialist in a village. We can't see any ophthalmologist in a village. We never see any ENT specialist in a village. All these people are doing business only by sitting in the urban areas. So, really to protect the public interest, Ayurvedic doctors stand nearer to the public. This is what I would like to say. Last point is, whether IMA is a better judge than the government? How is it? Government shows more concern about the common man, duly arranging the team of doctors of different disciplines at one point in the public interest at large. This is the concept involved in the scheme of NRHM, National Rural Health Mission, in vogue. Whereas IMA is highly selfish and self-centered and not at all worried about a common man, because I have told about the corporate hospitals versus a common man. It is one thing. Next, now after giving all this information, what is the real problem of IMA? Because IMA is nothing but jealousy, enviousness. That enviousness refers to the one psychological ego principle. There is one scientist, philosopher, psychologist, Eric Berne. he made he simplified psychology on the name of transactional analysis. He cites two principles. I am better than you. I am okay, you are not okay. I am okay, you are not okay. So this is the status of allopathic, IMA's ego. So that ego, everybody condemns, not only myself. So that is another problem of IMA is they do not know law. They don't want law because they think that they are always superior. So they may be thinking that allopathic is their personal property, private property, and they have got patent rights, as if they have got some MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with all the allopathic founders right from the state of the Hippocrates. So that is not the case. If that be the case, Boyle's operates, who invented? Surgical machines, who invented? All the technological things. Anyway, that means no allopathic modern surgeon knows about the instruments and the anatomy and physiology of the instruments. They may be knowing how to use the effect of that scanning machine or whatever it be. So that the problem of IMA is different. Not they don't have got any concern towards the to make any protest in this regard. Last point is locus standi. Actually, what is the locus standi, cause of action for the IMA people? Because IMA is not losing anything. When Ayurvedic surgeons conduct surgeries somewhere, how these IMA people are affected? There is no loss. Nothing lies against the modern doctors or against the modern surgeons in the Gazette notification of the central government. Neither the government nor Ayurvedic surgeons resorted to any plagiarism or cheating. Nobody is snatching or poaching the IMA's property rights or patent rights. And lastly, public interest also is not damaged by this arrangement of the government. So one more point I would like to say. Of late, the careless comments of a women doctor, I have seen a video in which the women doctor is using loose tongue, stating that public should not become guinea pigs in the hands of Ayurvedic surgeons. Also, she is sarcastically suggesting the government bureaucrats of higher positions, including politicians, to go and get the operations by Ayurvedic surgeons. Is it not her substandard wisdom? Is it not stooping down to the lowest culture without any dignity? I ask her, how can she conclude that Ayurvedic surgeons cannot have efficiency? A qualified licentiated Ayurvedic surgeons. Does she think that the health universities awarding degrees to the Ayurvedic surgeons are maniac agents? She can decide the quality, but not the universities who conduct the examinations and awarding degrees. I consider her statement as a perverted version. I advise her to see that gullible public do not become scapegoats in the clutches of corporate hospitals and do not succumb to their gimmicks. Lastly, my advice to the IMA people. The IMA leaders, I don't underestimate them in their own field, in their own arena, for their own efficiency. But as a team and as an association, they have got some innate problem, what even also they may not be conscious, but always they want to resist Ayurvedic people from certain privileges and fundamental rights. It is high time for the IMA to understand the issues very coolly in a symbiotic benefits of the integrated approach. The basic rights of the public to opt for any doctor, any system of treatment for their health care, and any team of doctors with different disciplines. Let IMA realize that government has every right to take decisions, public policies in the interest of the ailing people, especially below the poverty line, and hence you don't have the right to blame the government. Why it has taken? Mixopathy should not be there. That is the latest slogan. Or the poets. I am a better poet than them. We don't insist them any mixopathy in their institutions. Or rather to say directly I am addressing you in your institutions. You don't make any mixopathy. Simply confined to your system only. But you don't have right to deny the necessity of mixopathy in the public interest as well as the Ayurvedic prosperity. I advise you to discard jealousy-pathy and prejudicious mania. So it's not mixopathy, it is your jealousy-pathy and your prejudicious manner. So with this, I appeal to the government that we have done a very good thing, and our ancient system of Ayurveda, for which India is the motherland, and it prospered once well, and in middle it faced with some hiccups, and now again in the hands of our beloved Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and his team of bureaucrats, with that our Indian culture, Indian medicine and Indian standards should rise to the heights, and then sarve janaah sukhino bhavantu. Namaskar.